Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on The Flash, Season 9. So over the past week with The Flash, we had quite an uneventful episode play out that really only had one overly relevant scene going forward into the rest of this final season and the story that's taking place, might I say, and that was the one with Khione. Now, this is obviously the new character, replacing, I guess, like the physical form of Caitlin and Frost. Now, since her inception at the end of episode 1, but really in episode 2 of this season, we had been unsure, like, what was really going on with her, like, what's her purpose, everything like that. She didn't blast out any powers, when we initially met her. There was just a bit of, like, weird stuff going on, but it was clear there was just something different about her and that she had some form of special abilities and a special purpose this season. But it became clearer and clearer maybe what was going on with her in episode 5, the final episode of the Red Death arc or storyline, where we had two major moments with her character take place. One of them being when she essentially brings full life and recovery back to Chilblain after he was in a pretty critical condition and was on his way to dying more than surviving. He was like on the edge. And then we saw her sense life within Iris and revealing that Iris was pregnant when there was no real signs outside of Iris getting a bit dizzy at one point. Like maybe Iris wouldn't have found out for another month or something, or at least another couple of weeks as to what was really going on with her. And she has also been able to sense unrest in people, as if she has powers of empathy or telepathy, similar to Cecile. But it was over the past week in episode 6, right at the end, where we find out that Khione has zero, nada, zilch, dark matter, and zero cold fusion as well within her system. So there's no meta powers there. And she only has, I think it was one of the 56, biometric signatures that make up a human being. So she isn't a meta, but she also isn't human. So she is something completely different. What the hell is she? Now, one of the leading theories for a couple of weeks, starting probably back in episode 3 or 4 roughly, was that Khione could be the avatar of the life force. Now, what is the life force? You might be asking yourself, saying, Paige, that sounds made up. Well, the life force is one of the 2 remaining hidden forces of reality from the comics that we are yet to focus on within the show. So previously, we of course have had the Speed Force, the Negative Speed Force, the Sage Force, the Still Force, and the Strength Force. That's 5 of them. Now, outside of the Life Force, which makes up 6, the only one that hasn't been specifically brought up, though it retroactively could be tied to a character if they want to, is the Death Force, which obviously is almost like the negative to the Life Force. Sort of makes sense there, doesn't it? And of course, the Death Force is pretty much imagine if someone was the Grim Reaper and they touch you and you die. The Death Force pretty much does that. That's probably the best way to put it. But in regards to the Life Force specifically, what does it really do? Well, tapping into the Life Force, grants you a connection to all life and communication in a telepathic manner, with it as well having an ability to control certain aspects of it. Though if you were adapting it, you could increase that control to a much larger degree. So instead of just controlling a few things, you could control much more. That's just pretty much all the natural things in the world, which would include the weather maybe. So with Khione, for example, we saw only in the past episode that she made it snow indoors within Star Labs, and many people noted, I think it was in episode 2, that when she became happy, the weather got better and more sunny, though it was raining outside for most of the episode. Of course, throughout that episode, there was sort of not anger, but a lot of emotions of sorts around her because she wasn't Caitlin or Frost from herself and everyone else there. But when she accepted that she wanted to be the one that remains and was happy with that decision, the weather brightened up, and alongside her happiness, it got sunny outside. So a lot of people thought there was a connection there. And then of course the telepathic stuff does tie into sensing that Iris is pregnant and stuff like that. And in regards to bringing Chilblain back to full health, if Khione is the avatar, the source of the life force, just her touching and I guess just doing what she did with Chilblain should help him out pretty well, if not make him even better than he originally was before he got injured. Now, you might be wondering, why is Eric Wallace, the showrunner for The Flash, doing this now, in the final season? Well, he has said that Khione and what she can do will be important when we get into the final portions and the final stanzas of this season, and this might depend on how overpowered she might be. I mean, can she literally cheat death? If someone if Barry gets his head chopped off, can she go touch him, the head comes back, reattaches, and Barry's alive again? Is it that overpowered, or is it a bit more just not that overpowered, but still very useful? I guess that's a wait and see. But outside of that, as I said, there is only the life and death forces that are yet to appear on the show. And when it comes to the forces that are out there, and Eric Wallace has used them heavily in his tenure as showrunner, for better or for worse, depending on what part of his tenure you look at. So when you consider that, it's not overly surprising that he could be putting this life force on the show in the final season and making Khione as that character. So in his eyes, in regards to the positive forces or forces that could be used for good, he's completed them. He's got to catch them all. He's filled out the Pokedex. He's done all of them. So maybe that's why he's doing it here. And he feels that Khione is a good character to do that with. Now, one theory that I have seen attached to this as well is because when we had Caitlin at the end of last season go into that pod and she changed, there was no proper goodbye to Caitlin. She went in there. We didn't know what happened. And then when we come back this season, we have this completely new character. We didn't get to say goodbye to Caitlin. None of Team Flash did. Barry lost one of his best friends and was sort of like swept over pretty easily on the show, and people thought that was really weird. And my whole thought process around this, and I think many people have agreed with it, is that it's because Caitlin's going to come back. Like, that's the whole thing. They didn't really make a big fuss of it back then because Caitlin was going to come back, but they made a big fuss about Frost because Frost was actually legitimately going to be dead, going forward. But I think Caitlin's back by the series finale, if I'm being completely honest, though we also know that Khione's going to be in the series finale based off said photos. So a lot of people do think that Khione could maybe use the life force to bring back Caitlin once she learns her powers better. Now, the big thing around this is whether both of them can survive, because really, Khione is in Caitlin's body. Like, Caitlin's body went into the pod, Caitlin's body came out, but Khione came out with Caitlin's body. So would it have to be like some sort of separation thing like we have with those other forces where they just go into the force world, if you want to call it? But they don't live their day-to-day lives, but Caitlin can go back to living a day-to-day life, but the Khione part of Caitlin gets separated. I'm not too sure, that's a wait and see. But if we are basing off the Earth Prime comics, which Eric Wallace helped adapt, and he said that everything Flash related in that comic is canon, Caitlin is alive in the future, so Caitlin should be coming back. So maybe Khione does some stuff there that allows Caitlin to come back by the end of the season. Now, we did get the episode 8 synopsis for this season, which is not the episode that Oliver Queen comes back, but it's the episode before. But in this synopsis, it says that Khione goes to visit an old friend of Team Flash. Now, there's been a lot of questions as to what this could be. Maybe it's Wally West. Like, he was very in tune with the Speed Force last time we saw him, so maybe he could be able to help Frost. And maybe not necessarily he would know everything about the Life Force, but he'd have a better grip and he's better tuned into it. Like, he's better to ask than Barry, for example. He studied the Speed Force a bit more. You saw he was very zen and everything like that. So maybe Wally West could be who Khione meets up with, because then he appears in the episode after that. He's confirmed for that, which is episode 9 with Diggle, Oliver Queen, as I said, coming back as well, and Bloodwork and everything like that. So maybe Wally West could be someone that's touched upon there. But one interesting thing would be, what if it's Oliver Queen? If she is this life force thing, maybe she's the one that brings Oliver back in some way, shape, or form. Like, he is the Spectre, so he should be able to just come back how he is, but maybe she does something there, which would be pretty interesting. That is a theory I've seen going around, just because a lot of people are curious as to who she's meeting. In my video, I don't know when I would have uploaded it. I would have uploaded it before this one, but I said she might go meet Diggle, which then leads into the Bloodwork stuff. But maybe it is Wally West, or maybe it's Oliver. So something else that connects to episode 9. So keep your eyes out for that. I'm very intrigued to see what she does and whether it connects to anything if she is the life force. And the last thing I do want to bring up in this video is another option. So we've talked about Khione potentially being this avatar of the life force, or just the life force itself, whichever way you want to put it. But there is another option, which is sitting there, which might be what's going on, though it is a wait and see, because the powers that are there that we've seen with Khione so far don't necessarily scream out this is exactly what she is. But of course, Khione is named after the Greek goddess of snow. That was a name that was read out like season 5 or season 6 or something, when they had Caitlin's dad, when Caitlin and Frost's dad, I guess, brought into the show. And that's where the name comes from. It's an actual name that exists out there, and they use it as like the inspiration for this name as well. So maybe that's what Khione is. She is literally the Greek goddess of snow. She made it snow inside. And maybe because she is a god, she just has some extra things that she can sense things like pregnancy and bring people back to life and stuff. It's just like a bit of a side power, if you want to put it. So that is a very important thing to remember, that though the life force thing sounds pretty interesting, pretty cool, pretty like different to an extent in regards to having a main character be that, and also it does sort of side up with how Eric Wallace has sort of gone about things, pretty recently as well on the show. There is just the obvious one there, which is Khione, because that's literally her name and that's, you know, an actual goddess there. But then again, they might not want to make her a literal god. Like, that might be pushing it too far. But then again, in my eyes, and most people probably agree with this, the forces have like god level powers as well. So I don't think there's that much of a difference there. So it could be either. I think regardless, she's going to be overpowered. It just matters how overpowered and how much of like a plot device it can be. Like, as I said, if she can like literally resurrect anyone that dies, like around the time they're either dying or have already died and just within like maybe like a day period, overpowered as hell because there's no risk. But I don't know, we'll have to wait and see what happens there. But I'm just curious to see how they develop her over the next handful of episodes. Yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome. You could drop a like on it to show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various, you know, thoughts on what we went over in this video and any other theories you might have. Let me know in the comment section down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe and I will catch you guys later. Goodbye.